The Douglas Treaties, also known as the Vancouver Island Treaties or the Fort Victoria Treaties, were a series of treaties signed between certain indigenous groups on Vancouver Island and the Colony of Vancouver Island. Background: with the signing of the Oregon Treaty in 1846, the Hudson's Bay Company, HBC, determined that its trapping rights in the Oregon Territory were tenuous. Thus, in 1849, it moved its western headquarters from Fort Vancouver on the Columbia River, present-day Vancouver, Washington, to Fort Victoria. Fort Vancouver's chief factor, James Douglas, was relocated to the Young Trading Post to oversee the company's operations west of the Rockies. This development prompted the British Colonial Office to designate the territory a Crown colony on January 13, 1849. The new colony, Colony of Vancouver Island, was immediately leased to the HBC for a 10-year period, and Douglas was charged with encouraging British settlement. Richard Blanchard was named the colony's governor. Blanchard discovered that the hold of the HBC over the affairs of the new colony was all but absolute, and that it was Douglas who held all practical authority in the territory. There was no civil service, no police, no militia, and virtually every British colonist was an employee of the HBC. Treaties. As the colony expanded, the HBC started buying up lands for colonial settlement and industry from Aboriginal peoples on Vancouver Island. For 4 years the governor, James Douglas, made a series of 14 land purchases from Aboriginal peoples. To negotiate the terms, Douglas met first in April 1850 with leaders of the Songhees Nation, and made verbal agreements. Each leader made an X at the bottom of the blank ledger. The actual terms of the treaty were only incorporated in August, and modelled on the New Zealand Company's deeds of purchase for Maori land, used after the signing of Treaty of Waitangi. The Douglas Treaties cover approximately 930 square kilometres, 360 square miles, of land around Victoria, Saanich, Soak, Nanaimo and Port Hardy, all on Vancouver Island, that were exchanged for cash, clothing and blankets. They were able to retain existing village lands and fields for their use, and also were allowed to hunt and fish on the surrendered lands. These 14 land purchases became the 14 treaties that make up the Douglas Treaties. Douglas didn't continue buying land due to lack of money and the slow growth of the Vancouver Island colony. Along with Treaty 8, the Douglas Treaties were the last treaties signed between the Crown and the First Nations in British Columbia until NISGAA final agreement. Context: the treaties were signed during a period of severe cultural destruction in which the Songhees had experienced precipitous population decline, due to the arrival of foreign diseases. The treaties remain highly controversial given that it is unclear whether the Aboriginal leaders knew exactly what they were signing over, and given that the HBC took advantage of the recent cultural destruction by offering fairly inconsequential in exchange for large and highly valuable land purchases. Treaty members. References. Further reading. British Columbia Indian Treaties in Historical Perspective. Dennis F. K. Maddell. Research Branch. Corporate Policy. Department of Indian and Northern Affairs Canada. 1981. External links. Treaty texts. Douglas Treaties. Map of Vancouver Island Treaties. Hulkmanum Treaty Group website.